Hello guys, hope you're all doing well. Today we're back in what is probably my favourite game, Battlefield 4. 2042 definitely had some potential, and I really wanted it to be a successor, but following some recent news, there really is no chance for that game. So in this video, I was thinking we'd take a look at why this game turned out so well, and also why 2042 is well and truly over, as they actually released their plans for Season 1. So starting with the easier part, 2042 Season 1 is on the way, and as predicted, it really isn't something to get out of bed for. They want to assure you that they're working on the core issues, being maps, experiences, modes, core gameplay, and new content. So basically everything is a core issue. Anyways, the maps are getting sandbags everywhere, characters are hitting a second wave of puberty, and they're also making some slight improvements to the animations. As far as new content goes, they're adding a bunch of the portal weapons into the main game, with some balancing, which is apparently going to take a long time. And then each season is going to bring you a singular specialist, new maps, and new weapons. As far as I know, this means one map per season, but we will have to see about that one. The content that's being delivered this late into the game's lifespan, it really is pathetic. I don't think anyone is going to come back just for Season 1, and each update seems to always bring some huge issue. The game can't just be improved, there's always some bullshit compromise with this game. Anyways, do I care? No, not really. I'm chilling here in my attack heli gunner seat in BF4. Got air conditioning, heated seats, TV missiles, and I'm just living the life out here. Battlefield 4 for me has yet to be dethroned, and it almost seems easier to search for things the game does poorly, rather than the huge list of what the game does well. But to look into it, why was BF4 so good? Why have we not found something better even 8 years after the game was released? Well, to start with, it's got something that BF 2042 never really had, and that's content and variety. The game has something for everyone, and the sea of content the game finished with just has so much replayability. In BF4 you have vehicle dominant maps and modes, such as Conquest on Gold Mud Railway, or Parasol Storm. If you get sick of that though, you can have a full spectrum of infantry gameplay. Some enjoy Metro and lockers only, and the infantry combat has a crazy skill ceiling, and some of those players will put like 5,000 hours into lockers alone. Maybe you want infantry with some light vehicle play, well then you have Rush, and it's usually a really good option. The maps are just designed so much better as well. Sure, there's some bad maps, but even the bad maps in BF4 are about as good as the 2042 maps overall. And while we're on the topic of just something for everyone, this one doesn't really bother me, but for people who enjoy playing with a heap of different guns, there's just so many options. Many of them are actually really viable, and the attachment system just makes a lot more sense in this game. I have a pretty good idea of what attachments to use just by thinking about what I want to use the gun for. What got me completely hooked on the game though was the core gameplay. It's actually so good that I feel like it all happened by accident. Like, how can this game be so good and then everything after it not even come close? Everything has a counter within each vehicle, and you can actually make changes to your loadout to perfectly match the needs of a specific game and situation. In Battlefield 2042, I enjoyed playing the Nightbird and infantry, but in both of those cases, it felt like the enemy could just do things that totally rule you out. For example, if I'm doing anything other than playing in a Condor or Hind, a player can use that vehicle and ruin everybody's experiences within a whole match. The game is also not mechanically intensive enough to actually win in 1vx situations and vehicles, and infantry fun for me in 2042 was pretty much just entirely dependent on whether the enemy team had some vehicle tryhards on it. I love that in BF4, pretty much no matter what happens, you can always do something. Sure, some games will check the scoreboard and know right away who's winning, but that's teamwork and it's always going to win the match. But even if you can't win, you can often play pretty well individually and feel like you're improving. I feel like I can play against my counters in the attack jet. For example, sure, the balance kind of ensures that the stealth jet and AA have a big advantage on you, but if you play well enough and do things perfectly, you can always outplay them. Every single vehicle has those outplay options, and it's so addictive trying to reach a level where you can outplay your counters. Overall, the gameplay just has a really good raw feeling to it. Similar to Counter-Strike and a lot of those older games, the moves you can pull are just made up of basic running, jumping, and crouching functions. There's no real like hit one button and you slide, or just activate the VTOL mode in the jets. It's simple and intuitive. This is something I really miss about older games, and I really wish Battlefield just went back to what worked here. It doesn't feel outdated, it just feels really satisfying making complex movement and mechanics out of really simple things. The graphics are definitely not outdated either. I mean, everything looks much more layered and realistic when compared to 2042, which just looks very, very flat and plain. I highly recommend using sweet effects though, as it really livens up the look of the game, Even just for some sharpening, I really think it's a great addition. If you guys are interested, I might do an updated settings guide with sweet effects included. I'm not saying they're perfect. For example, I'd welcome an update to bring them up to maybe BF1 standards, but they do get the job done. The game runs on pretty much any computer and everything is clear and simple. I definitely wouldn't want anything much further than BF1. The last thing for me has to be the community aspect of the game. DICE really opened up the doors to the community, and with complete server access and the complete ability to make server plugins, every single server you play on will have a bunch of those plugins installed, and they really do improve the life for both players and admins to make the game just that much better. Having persistent servers is also huge. I have a few communities which I play in, and that's about it. You know, everyone kind of knows everyone, and the gaming experience on there has been consistent since I first started playing on those servers over 5 years ago now. All chat and VoIP are always a huge part of this game as well, and they really do add to the overall experience. You can just, press Alt and talk to your teammates, and they'll usually respond, or they'll usually have some chat response, and it ends up being a really fun session. For me, the only comparison for BF4 isn't even another Battlefield game that's released since. The closest I ever got to the same feeling was actually in Arma 3 King of the Hill. The game had a really fun team dynamic about it. You had vehicles, infantry, an objective, and the community was awesome. We had a TeamSpeak server. I remember I used to play on an American server most of the time, and we had a channel that only the Australians could really get into, with a couple exceptions there. And it was just a great time. There was a really great community around that game, and it's really reminded me of BF4, and that's actually why I ended up getting into BF4 in the first place. The developers unfortunately made some updates to Arma 3, and it really made it a lot less fun. They made the mechanics a lot more easy, I guess, and less skillful, which is what we actually really enjoyed about the game in the first place. I guess we were trying to find this kind of Battlefield-like fun in a milsim game in the first place, so it's understandable why they made those changes. Anyways, after that I ended up going to BF4 and noticed how similar it was and how it kind of offered all the same things. So for me, my only hope to actually get something like BF4 again would be a new Arma game, and that's probably going to be Arma 4. I know they have actually released Arma Reforger as well, which is like a Cold War intro to Arma 4. They're going to be covering that game for about a year with content, and I'm definitely going to keep an eye on it, because I don't think Arma's that great without mods, but they have given the community full modding support. You can make models in Blender and import them into the game. It's all really, really well done, and that's something Bohemia does really well. They lean into the community, and they kind of let them design the experience that they want, rather than forcing something down everyone's throats, which is kind of what Battlefield 2042 ended up being. So yeah, that's pretty much my suggestion. I'm definitely going to be keeping an eye out on Reforger to see if any good mods get released, like a King of the Hill or a Wasteland, and definitely expect some content on that if they end up releasing one. With all that said, I hope you guys all have a great day. If you enjoyed the video, maybe leave a like and a sub, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Peace.